Welcome to Denton's Trade Now, a series that highlights topical trade issues with our experts around the world. I'm Stephenson, the senior associate in the Denton's Toronto office, and today I'm here with Joaquin Contreras, an international trade partner in our Mexico City office. Hi, Joaquin.
Hello, Sean. Nice to see you, and thank you very much for inviting me to participate in this excellent project that you put in place for our global trade group. Thank you very much.
Joaquin, let's talk about the recent measures affecting the Mexican energy market. President López Obrador has put in place several measures affecting the energy market over the past few years. Most recently, that's included the hydrocarbons regulation and now a proposed power bill. At a high level, what do these regulate, and what are the key takeaways for both the hydrocarbons and the power bill?
Well, thank you very much. You are correct. The first piece of regulation is already in effect, and it basically relates to regulation for import and export of fuels, well, in general, hydrocarbons and petroliferous products. And it is a new regulation contained in what we call administrative decree, not a law, but which basically amended the entire piece of regulation that was in effect until December of last year. This regulation basically introduces new terms and conditions for the granting of import and export permits in an area that was already open in Mexico as a result of the energy reform that was implemented in 2014. So this is the first piece of regulation. It has created some concern in investors because some of the measures could be regarded or are regarded as restrictive measures to access to the Mexican fuels market in particular. So this is the first regulation, and it's already in effect. The second piece of well, still not a regulation, but it's a proposal, as you correctly say, by President López Obrador, which is pending right now before Congress, but all indication is that it will pass, and is related to power. Basically, this new bill proposes to enact new rules to have access to the power grid. In general, the rules are technical, but in general, what it means is that the law proposes to give preference to have access to the grid, to the power which is generated by the plants of the Mexican government utility, the Federal Electricity Commission.
So you had mentioned that the hydrocarbon amendments regulation is already in force. In terms of the power bill, what are the next steps that it would need to go through to enter into force in Mexico?
Well, it is currently in Congress. Under Mexican Constitution, the president has the power to send bills, what we call on a preferential basis. In other words, those bills has to be analyzed and go through the legislative process in a priority basis as opposed to other pending bills. So right now it's being discussed by the Senate. If the Senate approves it with a majority vote, which is basically the party that the Morena party, who is the president's party, and every indication is that they will pass it. And from there, it has to go back to the other chamber, very similar to the legislative process in the US and other countries. And if that is approved without any amendment by the lower chamber, in this case it'd be the Chamber of Deputies or the Congress, the House, then it will go again to the president and will be enacted. So we don't know the timing, but everybody expects that by the end of April, we will have that bill in effect.
So what does this mean, I guess more specifically, you touched upon a little bit, but what does this mean for foreign entities, whether US, Canadian, or European, that have invested in the Mexican energy market, both for the hydrocarbon section and the power bill? what does this mean, and what recourse would they have, either within Mexico or outside of Mexico, to the extent that they feel they are or have been harmed by these measures?
Yeah, this is a very important point that you have raised. In the case of the hydrocarbon regulation, some of Mexican investors, particularly those investors that are in the upstream market, for example, that were granted long-term contracts for upstream activities, and some also investors from the US or Canada that invested in infrastructure. Some of them have already filed challenges to the regulation here in Mexican courts, basically arguing that regulation violates some constitutional principles regarding certainty and other violations that the law clearly has. So this is the first remedy that some investors have decided to exercise. And the other one, it would be still not very clear, and I think you and I at one point comment this, is the possibility to resort to an arbitration investment procedure before any of the Mexican current free trade agreements.
Thank you, Joaquin. For anyone interested or acting in the Mexican energy market, this is obviously something to watch closely. Will have lasting impacts in Mexico and beyond. That's it for our episode of Trade Notes. Please subscribe to the series to hear more from our experts around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sean. Keep in touch.